Not really sure how many people will remember this particular video that I shot of a Sears FM stereo clock radio. You can get a general idea as to what the unit looks like from this video. I didn't say you could play. I think you could kind of see what it looks like anyways. Get an idea. That was recorded around August 9th of 2016. And I actually ended up returning that particular clock radio because it had it was a whole bunch of broken plastic pieces, and it also had a non-functional, I think it was the right speaker, that didn't work as it should have. And I could have fixed all those problems, but I was a little concerned that it was probably abused and been, dropped around and bashed and broken in other ways. I was a little concerned about it, so I returned it and picked up something else. But fast forward to actually 2 days ago, and I picked up this. And if you think that is basically exactly the same thing, well, you would be completely correct. Okay, let's try and shed a wee bit of light on the subject here. I'm not sure if this is going to do much. This might be more like just a fart in a whirlwind. It's not focusing very well. It's kind of working, but I don't think that's good enough. I think we're going to use a different light. About a couple of them, so you can get a general idea as to what it looks like. And the controls on the top. On the front, we've got headphone, the 2 alarm switches for turning the alarm on and off. You can wake to either a radio or a buzzer. There's a tone control there. I've got it set basically almost in the middle. Balance control for the left and the right speakers. Volume control, and a selector for FM stereo, regular FM, and AM. It's nice to see that you can switch it into mono FM reception in case you've got a weak station that you're trying to tune in that works fine on FM but not on FM stereo. And a power switch. And I bring that up actually because I was just experimenting with that up there, that candle with the cassette deck on it, and it does not have that feature. It's FM stereo or FM mono depending upon the station. So if there's a weak station coming in and it's trying to get the stereo carrier, or it's kind of coming in, it really just doesn't work out too well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move that to the side here. This knob here, the tuning knob, is a wee bit on the busticated side, but if that's its only problem, it's not, but that's the big one, really. I don't really care that much. On the bottom, we can see that most everything is intact. It even has the battery door. I can't imagine that many of those are still around. You can see it's the same model, 10877. Takes 10 watts from the wall. There's a code number. Still not quite sure when this thing would have been made, but I'd imagine that it's probably, late 80s, early 90s, or mid 90s, something like that. I find it interesting that they used a different style of screw on the side than they did on the rest of the unit. The speakers are on the sides, not on the top or anything like that. Actually, I think it's nicer that they're like that because they're better sounding speakers as a result, because they've got this entire cabinet. And this cabinet's got to be about a foot in length here from the two ends. On the back, I don't know if that's purely decorative or if that's venting or what. I think it might be venting. Then we've got a connection for an FM external antenna. I'm not sure if this is hooked up correctly. I think this part here is supposed to be a ground, but I'm not positive on that. But either way, it seems to receive, and that's pretty much all that's good. That's good enough for me. So there is, however, something interesting about this unit that I'm not sure if you noticed. It has nothing to do with the unit itself, but everything to do with the price tag on the top. Take a look at that and see if you can spot what I'm about to say. $3.99. Okay. No exchange. Fern OLI, TVs, stereos, and computers. Well, this isn't a TV. It isn't a computer. And it's not really a stereo either. So I'm not really sure how it ended up. Well, actually, I know how they made the mistake, but I'm not really sure why it ended up in the electronics section. And why it was so cheap if they thought that it was a stereo receiver. Because I'm pretty sure that's what they thought this was. If you take a look at the general design, you can see it really does look like a stereo receiver. Although it does also say electronic clock and dual alarm on it. But I'm pretty sure that they thought this was a stereo receiver. But at that, I'm not sure why they thought they only could charge $3.99 for it. I'm not sure why they tried to up the price, because usually stereo receivers sell for a whole lot more than $3.99. But either way, I'm happy that it only sold for that much. Because I think that that's about how much it's worth. Okay. The other unit had a dial lamp. This one does not seem to have a working dial lamp, unfortunately. So we'll try it in FM stereo mode. It is on. As you might be able to tell. It's got a nice sound to it. Turn the bass all the way up. And treble. Doesn't really do much unless you've got a station tuned in.
Live 88.5.
Okay, before I get my video muted, I'm going to change the channel.
It's like, oh, we actually have to leave here. Yes, you do. You know, because you were doing all your anger management issues in a voting booth. You know, that's not where you take care of your justifiable anger.
I'm really stressed.
Get hot at work.
Makes the day more tolerable. Makes the day go faster.
On your radio at hot.
Une fois, je me suis brûlée gravement. Je me suis réveillée avec 6.
I guess that station doesn't broadcast in stereo. Although it's a talk station, so broadcasting in stereo wouldn't do much for it. So. Apparently my light's having a little bit of trouble over here. The tuning dial is a little bit off. It's not quite correct.
Today's lesson.
One of the phrases that you hear a lot is the Christmas spirit.
You know, I'm surprised this station's playing that song, because usually they play more stuff that's newer than this. Well, maybe that's a cover that's been modernized, I don't really know. There's that awful noise again. Okay, switch it over to AM.
Because I was trying to think of any song.
It's picking up some stuff pretty good.
Yeah, I believe Cleveland blew the game. They should have ate him up. They knew he was out of gas. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. know how we want to keep getting better and
It's really quiet on the, where there's no station.
Every city is feeling that we could win, but what that leads to is a lot of mediocre.
Keep in mind that there's no station in this local area between 580 and 1200 on the AM band. Now, there really isn't a lot of AM in this city. It's mostly just FM. There's 3 stations that I can think of. 4 if you count there's an AM station that belongs to one of the college campuses. And this light's not doing its one job over here.
when we come back, and we'll take final phone calls as well, right here on Coast to Coast AM.
Coast Insiders, the new version of the Coast to Coast AM app is now available for iPhone and now Android 4.0 and above. Listen live or on demand, anywhere, anytime.
That's 580.
Go to coasttocoastam.com and download it today.
Coming in very strong. Okay, that's pretty much it for that. Let's go ahead and sound the alarm here. Unfortunately, alarm 1, this button up at the top here for alarm 1 doesn't seem to work, but alarm 2 does. So I'll just set the second alarm and we'll go ahead and have a listen to it. It does come through both speakers. Balance control doesn't do that. It also has the radios on and stuff. You can change the balance of the radio, though. Okay, the snooze button works. I haven't checked if the alarm off button works, but I certainly won't do that on video because there's not really much interesting I can do with that. That's pretty much going to do it for this particular video of this Sears FM stereo AM electronic clock with dual alarm, although only one of the alarms works. So thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. I hope to see you next time. Until then.